Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Education. Why did the Minister decide to allow unqualified staff to be allowed to be counted in the educator-child ratio?
Minister for Education.
Yes, I thank the member for the question, and while I don't necessarily agree with exactly the way she's framed the question, I do understand what she's talking about. And this is indeed a matter which she and I had some discussion about during estimates when she was the Minister, as indeed this is a body of reform that was part of the national quality frameworks in which South Australia was previously inconsistent with most other states in both of these areas. And as a result of the changes which are now have been agreed by all ministers, that South Australia will become consistent with the national quality framework alongside many other states, we will, from the 1st of July, allow childcare centres to have a 3-month probationary period for some of their staff to be able to count towards the consistent with the national quality framework that is required of childcare centres. This, as I've said in the previous answer, this is consistent with also encouraging more traineeships, more opportunities for job pathways into centres. It is consistent with the national quality framework, what we expect of our childcare centres. It will also have the benefit of ensuring that those families who entrust their children to the care and the educational services and the development services provided in our childcare centres have the opportunities, where there is an opportunity for a cost reduction, to benefit from that cost reduction. And that is something that I think will be welcomed by families. I think at a time when we do have right now a privileged position as a result of the federal government's COVID-related childcare benefits, where people do access free childcare, that is something that is not going to last forever. The federal government has made it very clear that that is not going to last forever. And so, consequently, when we return to a position where families become essentially people who are paying for childcare to a very significant extent, then something that ensures that families can enable themselves to afford that childcare, so long as it is on the basis of a strong quality framework, that which the former Labor government signed up to in about 2011 or 2012. South Australia's rules in relation to that framework are now consistent with that national quality framework. Now, it's not a radical proposition. It's a proposition which is accepted by Labor governments in many states, indeed one of them accepted by all Labor governments. The Shadow Minister for Education describes every Labor state government in Australia as racing to the bottom, and I don't think that that is a fair characterisation. I don't think that is a fair characterisation at all. I think that what has happened is that we have a national quality framework, and South Australia is now more consistent with that national quality framework than we were prior to these changes. These changes will take application from the 1st of July. Government preschools will maintain the 1 to 10 ratio for disadvantaged children. We're talking about, in this case, 3-year-olds and above, but the opportunity is there for non-government children's centres in this circumstance to move from 1 to 10 to 1 to 11 for those 3-year-olds and above.
Question before